attention. Now I have a word up on the board, and it says refutation. What I want you to do is after I say refutation, I'd like you to repeat the word. So, refutation. 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 Refute. 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 Now, the word refute, let's go ahead and close read the definition up on the board. Okay? The action of proving a statement or theory to be wrong or false. It's important to teach explicitly the Tier 2, Tier 3 vocabulary words for your EL students to really ensure that they're understanding the differences in register. So they have one register when they're speaking with their friends out in the quad or the hallway, or not lunchtime and at home. But an academic register requires a lot more. And so with that explicit instruction, you're making it very clear to them what's expected to have a scholarly conversation with someone using higher level vocabulary. Many of you are arguing right now and preparing to engage in the debate on homework, whether it should or should not be banned. Okay? For the team that is arguing that homework should be banned, the counter argument is homework should not be banned. All right? Now, when you are having that counter argument come at you in the debate, it will be very important that you know how to refute and engage in that refutation. So there's two separate ELD. There's pull-out and then there's integrated ELD. Within my classroom, an integrated ELD format would really look like explicit instruction, meticulous modeling, and then constant monitoring of students' language production in collaborative activities. Right? I have sentence stems. It says, to refute the counter argument, which is blank, I believe blank. This would refute the counter argument because. So what I would like you to do is prepare for sharing out with your groups, and I would like you to write this in your composition notebooks. So the Tier 3 vocabulary word that I was teaching today was refutation. And part of the 6th through 8th writing goals for students in English language arts and ELD is to learn how to argue appropriately using reliable and relevant textual evidence. So my language objectives that I have incorporated in my lesson plans come directly out of the Common Core standards. And actually the ELD standards are woven in with the Common Core standards, so they all are related. My biggest focus with my language objectives that I have in my lesson plan is really to just get the students using purposefully the English language, whether it be written or whether it be speaking. Now, using your table placemats, number 1 should be in this section, number 4 should be here. This is an A partner as it says in your corner. This is a B partner as it says in your corner. So I would like you to share with your A-B partners. So those are the people who are across from you. Now, I need you to also, while you are saying the word refute in your sentence stem, I would like you to make the hand signal, just so that you are practicing the sign language, and so that way whenever you hear refute, you think about this and you're able to put 2 and 2 together. And it'll help you recall, oh no, right? Refute means to prove somebody wrong, okay? All right, at this point I'd like partner 1 or partner A to share with partner B. Begin.
Oh, okay. So I put, to refute the counter argument, which is death penalty, is appropriate. I believe death penalty should not be appropriate because it's expensive. It's more money than having someone
Life in prison, right? Yeah.
And then this refutes the counter argument because it shows how we are wasting money on things that are not useful. Because by killing someone, you're not changing anything.
Yeah, I get you.
It's both ways. I've been, if someone killed someone, then there's a thing called you take a life, you lose a life.
Isn't it like eye for eye?
So I use heterogeneous grouping with my students, and I do that to make sure that I have a plethora of learning abilities within each group. You are listening and able to recall. Go.
So to refute the counter argument, which is the death penalty isn't appropriate for some cases, I believe that it won't solve anything. This would refute the counter argument because it would only bring anger to the family's victims. it, like, I don't know how to say it, but like it won't solve anything. Like it won't bring back the victim's life. So it's just life in prison would be better.
It's important for an English language learner student to be grouped with somebody who is proficient in the language, so that way they're hearing that academic register from a fellow peer. So they're hearing my meticulous modeling throughout instruction, but to hear it also being modeled from one of their peers is really beneficial. Okay, so the first thing in your groups is you are going to be sharing out your research using the 4 L's. So you are looking at your partner, you're leaning towards them, you're lowering your voice, and you're listening attentively. The purpose of your listening in this activity is to determine if they have facts that you do not have in your research that you need to add to your collection in your Google document. Okay, so the purpose of your listening today is to determine whether they have facts that you do not have in your Google document. Go ahead and repeat that to your groups right now.
The purpose of the listening today is for you to gather facts that you do not have in your research.
All right. Now, I also was very clear as to what's expected that you use while you are sharing your research. What is that? What are we using? What are we using while we share out? Who can tell me? Out loud? The sentence frames. It's very important that we're using our sentence frames to make sure that we are sharing out incomplete sentences. It's important to have sentence frames for students to get them practicing speaking in that academic register. On my desks, I have 2 sets of sentence frames. I have one for discussion, and then I have one for collaboration. So one kind of steers more towards sharing out their responses, and then the other is more coming up with a consensus as a group, and then they would use those frames to share out. It's important that they use complete sentences just for that continuous practice of speaking in the language. Okay, so the first person I'd like to share out is number 1. If you do not have somebody sitting in the number 1 spot, move into number 2. Begin.
Okay, so my research is over 150 people in the last few years have been taken off death row because they were innocent, insulted, or I don't know. And my research will be in.
You just have to say the fact that you have and where you found it.
No, like you say the fact, and then you clarify on how that supports the death penalty.
This supports the death
So when we all come back together as a class, a lot of times before I do that, I will indicate to a particular student that they're going to be called on to share out. So a lot of times you'll want a cold call just for that accountability, but it's also important to pre-select those students and give them a heads up before you call on them. The reason being is it gives them a chance to articulate and prepare themselves as far as what they want to use, especially with sentence stems and which vocabulary terms they're going to use when they're responding. But I also do it especially because I'm focusing on those English language learners. So most of the time I will have my English language learner be the pre-selected student to share out, because I really want them to not only practice that academic register within their small groups, but also out loud. As a group, you decide which one that you guys have is the strongest fact to support your argument, okay? And I would like Michelle to share out.
So you get to pick someone's. It could be your own when he's done, and then you just share it out.
Okay, Michelle's group. Can you please share out your findings as a group?
One piece of evidence that we got from a YouTube video, it was saying the pros and cons of death penalty, and I strongly agreed that death penalty is brutal and uncivilized. I believe this because it shows that death penalty is not right, because you're doing the same crime by killing someone that killed someone else.
So in other words, what you're saying is that murdering somebody who committed a murder is not the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what if you're saying, what would your group say in response to the counterclaim that, well, we need to get rid of the people who are causing these crimes and causing harm and a danger for our community. How would you respond to that? How would you refute that?
I would refute that by saying most people believe that it would that
It's important that once
Having
your
the death
pre-selected
penalty
student
would be the right
shares
thing
out
and
their
showing
prepared
that it
response,
kills someone.
it's important to not just stop there and move on with instruction. You want to intentionally ask them why. Expand that rigor and encourage them to think on the spot, so that way they really are getting more practice with that language. They're critically thinking to come up with on the spot their response to your question, which will be more rigorous. The ELA and ELD framework is meant to work together. It's not meant to be two separate entities. And with that in mind, and just being intentional about these little tiny strategies that you can incorporate every day in your classroom is really going to be highly beneficial for your English language learners. And having that constant practice of that language will increase their proficiency tenfold.
So technically, okay, so the fact is the death penalty adds cost to the government and taxpayers, right? Okay, and the counter argument would be that the death penalty costs the government less as opposed to life imprisonment without peril.
Well, what I put for my counter argument was like, the death